time for Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. 5 buckets, and boy, talk about torture test last week. Torture for Rondog at Lake Fork. So, just to give you a rundown, I had some Coosa River guys, some swim jig guys, some shallow water guys, and some big bait guys. And so I fully expected, I connected the dots on one big time. Seth Fighter, bucket A, 10th place, and Lee Livesey was the high 50% choice in bucket A, and he got 90th. Sorry, I'm getting choked up here. I got 10th place and Lee, the consensus favorite, 90th. So that was huge for my team to beat that many people. But then I gave it all back. If I told you that Kenta Kimura was last place on day one with one bass for 3 pounds, you should have saw how shocked I was. But then I was even more shocked day two when he catches 32 pounds to move to 65th and ends up being my second best angler in fantasy because Dakota Ebear, who was sixth on day one, catches one bass, drops to the 70s. Scott Canterbury was in the 30s, drops to the 70s. And then David Gaston was already down in the 90s and stayed there. So literally, Kenta goes from last place and gets 65th, and I thought I'm going to get a bunch of points today with him doing well. Well, I lost just as many by everyone else falling way down. So, brutal week. I dropped 10%. I'm down to 80% now instead of 90%. So, bounce back here at the Sabine. But how was Fork for you? I know you were happy when I was texting you my pain.
It was okay. It was somewhere in between. I had Brandon Palaniuk in 23rd, Easton Fothergill in 8th, and Greg Hackney in 11th. But I also had Lee Livesey and Stetson Blaylock, the two guys we were talking
Oh,
about looking for redemption. So
what is that,
90th,
90th and last?
90th and 100th. So
Oh,
certainly
100th.
not great events for those two guys, but the other three did pretty well. So kind of kept me middle of the road. Didn't drop me too much in percentages. I'm at 90.6 overall. So steady, not great, but not horrible either. Somewhere,
Wait, was it Drain the Lake or was it Rapala where you're like 50th?
it's Drain the Lake. I'm
Okay.
still doing fine in Drain the
Okay.
Lake.
I was about to say you dropped from
Um,
50th to 90%. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that is Falcon Rod's Drain the Lake
Okay.
challenge is the one
So,
that I'm doing well.
um, my Rapala team, bucket A to E, I got Jake Whitaker, Brandon Palaniuk, Beau Browning, Cliff Pace, and Ed Loughran. Who's your lineup consist
I
of?
like it. I have Jay Shakirat, Wesley Gore, Kyle Welcher, you guessed it, Greg Hackney in bucket D, and Kenta Kimura in bucket E.
Okay. Um, you went with Jay Shakir in bucket A. That's more intriguing to me than my Whitaker pick. Basically, Whitaker's never missed the cut here. I think he's got a couple 41sts and an eighth or a fifth. No, he's got a fifth and two 41sts, and I think one of those 41st he was like 10th going into day three and fell to 41st. So he was like top 10 in two of the three tournaments if it got paused halfway through. So that's my justification. Grinder style. And after Whitaker finished last on his home lake of Hartwell, he turned around to 25th last week at Fork. Got stayed in bucket A after a good event, and so I expect Whitaker to be good at the grinder type, wacky rig, frogging, some shallow flipping.
Yeah, so for me, Jay Shakirat, until he proves he's not going to catch him, I'm just going to keep picking him in bucket A because I'm tired of saying that, he's a great pick for the sake of momentum and not picking him. It bit me at like Fork, obviously secured another top 10 finish. So I'm just going to go Jay Shakirat in bucket A, similar to years past where I've just gone Patrick Walters until he doesn't catch him. I am just going to go with Jay Shakirat until he does not catch him. So, no real other explanation other than like he's the hot hand right now, so that's where I'm gonna ride until he struggles.
I had Brandon Polnick in bucket B. Who did you have? Did you have Wes Logan
Wesley Gore.
or Wesley Gore? Okay. So for BP, man, I think that fisheries like this have been a little bit of a puzzling kryptonite, but I think that he is well aware of what he needs to do and will not overthink it, won't do anything crazy. And I think that he'll keep himself in the game. A lot of the times at the Sabine River, it's not that you didn't find him, it was that you went for the leading bag and came up, snake eyes. Um, and so I think that you can't win it on day one, but you can lose it by catching one or two bass. And so I think that Palaniuk's going to have a better, not that the game plans in the past have been bad, but I think he's going to just work his way into this tournament before trying to shake it up and make something happen. So I'm going BP in bucket B. Um, I think he had a decent Lake Fork, right?
Made the cut. Yep, made the cut. Didn't have a
20,
great
23rd. Yeah. Okay.
didn't have a great third day, but yeah, great event for him
Yeah.
there.
So I think that he's just a good mixture of young and old styles combined because this bucket is truly like it's a group of young guys with a few veterans sprinkled in like Porosnik, Schmidt, Palaniuk, Palmer, Mosley, Lester, Jordan Lee, and then the others, and Drew Benton, and the others are like relatively younger anglers. So give me Wesley Gore, and is it just because he boat flipped an 8 pounder on the fork? Is that why?
No, it's just the fact that he's again, like we talked about earlier with Will Davis Jr., Coosa River guy. Very good shallow water fisherman, and I think he's got the momentum. Obviously, it's back-to-back top tens after a rather slow start to the elite season. I like Wesley Gore to have another good finish there. There's a handful of other guys in that bucket, plenty of shallow water power fishermen that should have good events. Wes Logan was one of them that you did mention. But I'm going Wesley Gore just based on the momentum and because a few of the guys on my team are fairly high percentage. So that was probably the biggest risk from a percentage standpoint that I'm taking in Rapala.
You're going with Kyle Welcher, Mr. Sabine River, after multiple top tens there in his 2 times. And I'm going Beau Browning, offspring, spawn, as we'd call it in fishing, of the best river fisherman in the history of Bassmaster Elite Series river fishing tournaments or opens. And so, Beau, yeah, I think of the rookies, he's good with scope. He's good with forward facing sonar. But I think compared age wise to everyone else, age being equal, he may be the best close your eyes and catch them type of guy in our rookie field, in my opinion. I don't know if that made sense to you. Help explain that to the folks at home. I'm not discrediting anyone else, but I think the way he was raised and brought up and the training he got and the types of fisheries that he excelled on early in his career, like I feel that he would blend in really well with the Sabine River.
I think the way you explained it was perfect. I would say that he's very good with his electronics, uses them when he needs to, but also, I would say even still to this day, he prefers to not do that if he doesn't have to. Again, it's not to say that he's against it by any means. It's just like I think he has more confidence, just fishing shallow, fishing, that same style that you associate with Stephen Browning. I mean, he's very, very good at that too. So, yeah, I would agree with you 100%. For me, Kyle Welcher, between the back-to-back top tens at the Sabine River, and basically anytime you can just put your trolling motor down and go fish, I feel like Kyle Welcher is absolutely one of the best at that, if not the best. I mean, there's so many guys on the Elite Series that are good at that, but he's certainly one of the best. And you
Could he
mix
win
that,
another one near takeoff this year?
yeah, it could be. But I just think that he has obviously shown as much consistency as you possibly can in two Elite Series trips. But I will say, in that bucket, it is shocking that number one, neither of us picked, or that only 2.6% of players are picking John Cruz.
Yep.
Talk about a guy that's never finished worse than 28th at the Sabine River. I don't know why he's only at 2.6%. Like that's crazy. I don't even know why I didn't pick him, to be honest. I might honestly change, but I do like Kyle Welcher a lot in that tournament, despite the higher player percentage.
Yeah, Welcher being at 27.2. I kind of debated it because Bo's right there at the same percentage as Cruz, but with Christie and Welcher getting a lot of the eyeballs in this bucket, over 50% between those two. Hunter Schraggs had two really good finishes in a row in his times fishing it, and then some other guys to consider. Tyler Rivette may be on people's short lists as well. So yeah, Cruz might be we might see his player percentage jump after the podcast because we just kind of an epiphany there. Bucket D, Two buckets left. I am going with someone in bucket D. I already said it. I don't know why I'm being mysterious. I'm picking someone that I haven't picked all year yet and has been quiet as a human being his whole life and quiet so far this year in the Elite Series, and that's Cliff Pace making his return to the Elite Series. Normally he's not one to be in front of the camera making a big shout or spout. He's done okay. He got 65th in Palatka, which isn't a bomb. 13th at Okeechobee. Then he had two bad ones at Pascatank and Hartwell, and then another just outside the cut in the 50s at Fork. So he finds himself in bucket D, which overall right now for the AOY standings, this would put Pace around, he's 70th on the dot. And so you can see, I guess, the formula to getting 70th. Andrew Loberg had two terrible finishes and then has had three great finishes in a row since then. And Cliff Pace had some decent finishes, middle of the road, and then two bad ones most recently, and then a middle of the road again. And it equals their back to back in the points race. So Cliff Pace, though, I think just, I mean, you want to talk about a balsa square bill expert, aficionado, creator, understander. That's him. And then flipping little top waters. That just this sounds like Cliff Pace.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually like that pick a lot. For me, I don't really need a whole lot of explanation. Greg Hackney, just incredibly good shallow water power fisherman. Obviously has a win here. Got a little bit of momentum at Lake Fork with an 11th place finish. Really good finish there for Greg. I like Hack Attack to have a big one here and then keep the momentum rolling. I think he just got off to a bad start, and we're going to see him turn it around the rest of the season. So I got Greg Hackney and D.
And we'll truly not know with Cliff Pace's 3 years of Elite Series events here what he is comfortable with because his two best finishes were uh, in 2013 and 2015, which is early in the year starting the tournaments, like they were the February, March tournaments. And then he didn't do great in the June tournament that Hackney won. But we don't know if that was a no Louisiana in play, and that's where he had made hay in the first two events or something, or the first event at least, or if it was because it was a move to the summer, June, and he was, in the train of thought of spring. Not sure. But this one
And
will be like
the
2023's
Sabine
date
River,
range.
the Sabine River too. I mean, like it's such a fine line of having a really good tournament, having a bad tournament, because there's so many guys that catch a small limit, but obviously catching one better than average size fish, or especially two, really propels you to having a top 10. So I mean, it is a fine line. Guys that have had one bad finish there, like Hackney's finished outside the cut one time. There's guys that have had success, like Swindle has always done extremely well at Sabine River, but he had one bad one. I mean, like it's a fine line from having a really good finish to a really bad finish. So um, you can't look too much into somebody having one bad finish at the Sabine River because, yeah, in the fine line of finishing 70th to finishing 30th is like one bite a lot of times. So,
For
uh,
sure.
definitely two bites over 2 days. So yeah,
Well, when you think about Bucket E, you do have some big names in there, and there will be some guys before we get into who we picked. Obviously, Zaldane, popularity wise, Swindle, like you said, he's got a second in the past when Hackney won. Overall, pretty good fishing and finishes there, except for the most recent trip we had. Matt Robertson made a top 10 the last time we were at the Sabine River. You think about Chad Pipkins having some great moments at the Sabine. Kenta Kimura was in the top 10 last time we were here. Iaconelli's had some success here as well. Kennedy feels like he's been on camera multiple times at the Sabine. Mark Frazier, I don't know. His brother was great at the Sabine, and so they probably chatted way back in the day about it. And so you just never know how comfortable Mark will feel on the Sabine. Let me see. I think Mark's fished one time at the Sabine. It would have been 23. No, he's fished two times. He's got an 89th and a 26th. And so, yeah, it seems like you're due for a bad one. If you've been to the Sabine and never had a bad one, that every angler gets one bad one. You just don't know if it's the first time you go there or the third time you go there, but it's bound to happen. And so, Bucket E, I'm going with Ed Loughran, though. Just somebody different that I haven't picked this year that I feel would slow down enough. At times we fish way too fast at the Sabine. And he's been middle of the road and at the bottom. So this could be his breakout event. No real rhyme or reason other than that. I mean, Bucket E is just a hodgepodge mixture of confusion of why these guys are in Bucket E. Um, a lot of these guys have never finished a season in Bucket E, and so it's hard to understand who's going to get out off the schneid. And so I think Ed normally is a great post spawn angler, and so we'll see from this point in the season on how he does.
I like it. I'm going Kenta Kimura. I think the momentum from that final day he had at Fork, obviously rallying back, that's got to do something for you, give you some confidence. And like you mentioned, obviously had some success there the last time we were there. So Kenta Kimura, I like him to get out of Bucket E this week. No longer Bucket E.
Okay. Well, there's our Rapala Bassmaster fantasy fishing picks. Um, Whitaker, Palaniuk, Browning, Pace, and Loughran for my team. Who's your five again?
Przekurat, Wesley Gore. I'm saying them off the top of my head. Wesley Gore, Kyle Welcher, Greg Hackney, and Kenta Kimura.
Okay, awesome.